Back here with Coach Mangini. Jerry Jones talked to the media yesterday about the future of head coach Jason Garrett.
And he wasn't lying. He was telling the truth.
I'm sure he was. So at the midway point of the year, the Cowboys were 3-5 and couldn't find an identity, and the head coach looked to be on the chopping block.
And that was the truth.
That also was the truth. Things I know so much about. But after finishing the season with the NFC East title and a playoff win, it doesn't look like Jason Garrett is going anywhere. Just ask Jerry Jones.
When I look around at what other teams are doing and trying to do to find their head coach, if Jason Garrett had been out on the market 2 weeks ago, he would have had 5 offers for head coaching. I know that. You've got to look at what your alternative is.
All right, Coach, what do you think? Is Jason Garrett the right guy to take this Cowboys team to the next level?
Yeah, I think he is. I think that the Cowboys situation is unique. It's one of the few situations where the GM is the owner, and you have to have the ability to deal with that dynamic, and you've got to be able to deal with it in an effective way. And you look at Jason's record, you can kill him, but he's only had 1 losing season since he's been the head coach. And then you look at Sean Payton. Sean Payton's had 3 losing seasons in that same time period and been suspended. But nobody's talking about, and had Drew Brees, but nobody's talking about that. Sean's had to deal with changing over quarterbacks from Tony Romo.
Jason Garrett's had to.
I mean,
yes.
Jason Garrett's had to deal with changing over quarterbacks. There's been staff changes. There's been transition that you could argue he's done a very effective job with in an environment that is unique in the NFL. Not a lot of people have to deal with that same power structure.
You mentioned it's unique. Do you think it's a net positive or net negative if you're the head coach of the Cowboys? Everything that goes along being the head coach of the Cowboys. And by that, I mean, you know you're going to have as unlimited resources as a team can have within the confines of a salary-capped league. But what best facilities in the league see, the top of the line, everything, you know your owner is, you're one of the 12-ish teams that every single year is actually trying to win a championship. That we talk about that all the time, that there's a dozen teams or so that are they'd like to win a champion, all that, but also the added scrutiny, the fact that the GM is the owner. Like, do you think this is a better job than the average NFL job because of all that, or a worse job than the average NFL job?
Well, what we don't know is the dynamic between the head coach and the owner, and we don't know how much give and take there is, and over time has that relationship evolved. This isn't a function of buying the groceries. He doesn't buy the groceries. He doesn't really even set the menu. He just cooks whatever he's given. Now, but maybe over time, as their relationship has grown, there has been more give and take, because you want the ability as a head coach to shape the team that you have. You want the ability to be able to discipline the players the way you believe they should be disciplined. And if that stuff gets undercut, it's hard to operate as effectively as you could.
Yeah, I think it's a positive being the Dallas Cowboys coach. I think that you would want the opportunity, knowing that you have an owner that is trying to win, compared to other messaging we see through other owners that aren't consistent. Now, dealing with your roster in the media, with your owner doing a radio show, that would be problematic. How I'm going to deal with the players personally compared to the relationship that they have with him, because Jason, the relationship he has with those players, and Jerry, especially the star players, those are going to be significant relationships, because that's the way Jerry is. Him being hands-on every day, and also, let's not forget the dynamic of his right-hand man is his son.
Yeah.
And when you're dealing with a father and a son, and you're the head coach, and being able to get through those types of situations, I think Jason Garrett is probably one of the most difficult jobs to have. And I believe that he's done a good job being the Dallas Cowboys head coach.
What about what this team needs specifically? What Dak Prescott needs to grow and mature? What Ezekiel Elliott needs to turn into the back that they really want him to be? Is he the right coach to help develop both the offense and defense?
Well, he's the right coach in the sense that he's got the most knowledge of where these guys are, what their weaknesses are, what their potential areas for growth are. When you bring in somebody new, you do get an influx of new ideas, and there's a freshness to it that can add energy to the environment, but it may not necessarily be what's best from a growth perspective. Yeah, I think he is probably positioned in the most advantageous way to help those guys.
And I think we have to remember that being a head coach is not simply, even though a lot of teams are kind of leaning this way as the NFL goes from, as he would say, a third, offense, defense, special teams. The NFL now seems to be 60% offense, 30% defense, 10% special teams. A head coach is not always quarterback whisperer, play caller, who also happens to be a head coach. When you were a head coach, it's the media, it's discipline, there are so many things. It's setting the meeting schedule, right? It's so many things that you have to do that are not just the game plan. Tell me if I'm misstating it.
No, there's a ton of things that you have to do that have nothing to do with your expertise. And you've got to me, you've got to be the head coach of the whole team. You've got to be able to not only see what's in front of you, but see what's a year away, see what's 5 years away. You've got to make decisions in the context of what gives us the chance to compete every year. And some guys are so focused on just their area, they can't see the bigger picture, and a lot of mistakes happen. Now, the other thing is there's 5 things a day that come up that aren't scheduled, because you're dealing with human beings and you're dealing with 100 human beings. So these different problems come across your desk that you have to deal with that you didn't put on your calendar.
So that's why I would, my free advice to the Cowboys is something they did defensively last year, I think they should consider doing offensively this year. So last year, they kept Rod Marinelli as defensive coordinator, brought in Chris Richard as essentially co-defensive coordinator, but defensive passing game coordinator. And he did a great job, a good enough job. His name was floated as a head coach candidate. They say they're going to keep Scott Linehan. I've been underwhelmed in my career watching Scott Linehan by the offenses he's coordinated, but they're keeping him. Can you bring in an offensive passing game coordinator that focuses on Dak, on the routes, on the route combinations, and tries to enhance that? Because Jason Garrett, I think, is a good CEO. I think he could use maybe a better COO. And if they're leaving Marinelli and Linehan in place, can those guys have someone that can help Dak and the passing game evolve? Because every question around the Cowboys, when we're looking about their future, comes back to how good is Dak going to be down the road?
There is no quarterback coach, there's no offensive coordinator that can teach someone to throw. So Scott Linehan, he's been good in this league for a long period of time, and it might just seem just so simple that we might just add something else, but what effect does it have on the rest of the team? And we can't just say, there's not 32 guys out there that can enhance your offense like we think. We think all these young coaches, man, there's millions of them. Oh, they're all everywhere. Oh, okay. All right. Wait till 3 or 4 years from now. And you guys come back, and we're still doing television. I'm telling you, where are all those young, smart guys at now? All right? They're going to be changing their corner like Nick Wright. He's going to be like, got off of that smart thing. You know, so I just think right now in the NFL, trying to add wrinkles to your offense is harder said than done. And I know there's no one that can teach a quarterback how to throw the ball effectively better. Now, we can have some concepts that open it up, but Dak Prescott, it's on himself to get his feet better, to get his shoulders stronger, work on his timing, get his hips involved in the throw. That's not some other person's responsibility. That's the professional's responsibility. It's not some coaches. You are responsible for your own talent. There's enough quarterback gurus and stuff out there that aren't working for teams. All right? Tom Brady's guy is not employed anywhere, all right? And Drew Brees, Tom Brady, and all these other guys go to him. Let's not put that on the Dallas staff. That's something you should be doing in your offseason, Coach.
Know what helps really smart coaches? Really good quarterbacks. That helps really. Look at Belichick. There's one winning season in 6 years as a head football coach, which would get you fired pretty much anywhere at any time. And then Tom Brady kicks in, and it was the combination of those two people and they work together that has changed everything. And the situation in Green Bay, you've got a young head coach going there. He's got a great opportunity to look really good right away because he's got Aaron Rodgers. You insert those guys somewhere else where there isn't a quarterback, it's a whole different ballgame.
That's what this show is when I'm not here. It doesn't happen a lot, but sometimes it does. Take a break. Coming up, will you stick around for one more segment? How much trouble will Tyreek Hill give the Patriots? That's next on First Things First.
Guaranteed Jenna didn't get any of those stickers.